Hey everyone, Kfir here. This is the F5E, and you can find it at rank 7 in both the US as well as the Chinese tech tree. It sits at a battle rating of 10.7, and at that BR, this is perhaps the best aircraft available. Why? Well, in order to explain that, let's first take a look at this jet's little brother, the F5C. For those who have lived under a rock for more than 2 years, the F5C is a rank 6 premium that sits in the US tech tree at a battle rating of 10.3. And because of its amazing agility as well as its very good energy retention, the F5C is one of the best, if not the best 10.3 fighters in the entire game. Although, that said, it's not exactly like this jet is perfect. Sure, it's really good, but it does have some pretty glaring flaws. For one, the missiles that this jet carries just are not that great. 10 Gs of overload just isn't enough at this battle rating. But perhaps more importantly, the F5C also feels like it is chronically underpowered, especially at lower speeds, which are also the speeds where you'll be finding yourself during most dogfights. The F5C just really doesn't have that much thrust, at least not compared to other aircraft around its battle rating. So, TLDR, although the F5C is a phenomenal jet for its battle rating, it does have some pretty glaring shortcomings that, in theory, can be abused by enemy players to put the F5C into a bad position. But what if I told you there's a way to play the F5C without those shortcomings? Well, I'd be lying, but I can give you something that is pretty close. And that's where we come back to the subject of this video, the F5E. Essentially, the F5E is a cracked F5C, because it's exactly the same plane, except better in every way that it needs to be. Not only does it get much better missiles, going from a 10G AIM-9E to a 20G AIM-9P/AIM-9J, but perhaps more importantly, the F5E also gets a massive increase in engine power. And thus, as you might expect, the F5E has a better thrust-to-weight ratio than the F5C does. Although, admittedly, the absolute maximum thrust-to-weight isn't that much better on the F5E than it is on the F5C. Instead, where you find most of the benefit is at those lower speeds. The minimum thrust on the F5E is massively better than it is on the F5C, and thus in dogfights the F5E just has a lot more actually usable engine power. So what you end up with is a plane that's not only very agile, very maneuverable, and has very good energy retention, but somehow also a plane that has a very good set of engines with a set of not the best missiles, but they're most certainly decent given the battle rating of this jet. And actually, speaking of battle rating, as you can imagine, taking the F5C and just straight up making it better results in a BR increase. Except, well, also not really. I mean, of course, the F5E sits at a battle rating of 10.7, which is a higher battle rating than 10.3. But in practice, this is not a BR increase that really matters, because at 10.7, well, I mean, you basically get exactly the same matchmaker as jets that have a battle rating of 10.3. And I say that because getting a full up tier in an aircraft with a battle rating of 10.7 is extremely rare. It basically never happens. So worst case scenario, in the F5E you'll be fighting 11.3s. And guess who's also going to be fighting 11.3s? That's right, the standard F5C. So, to make a long story short, the F5E is essentially just a straight up better version of the F5C that mostly fights in the same matchmaker. And thus, as you can imagine, the F5E is an absolute powerhouse. How much of a powerhouse? Well, let's just start looking at some gameplay. The footage you're seeing in the background is going to be me playing the F5E from the Chinese tech tree and getting 7 kills. I'm currently diving down onto an F4E, I'm essentially just role-playing that I'm an F104, because that F4E didn't even see me. Used my AIM-9P there to just snipe him from a couple of kilometers away, and there you go, first easy kill. And then whilst I was looking at that F8E, I didn't see this Biden these nuts guy, and well, it seems like he didn't see me either. And as you can see, I'm locking him up with my missile, but I decide to still go for a gun kill in the end. I essentially keep my AIM-9 on the rails. Why? Well, I probably could have hit him there with my IR missile, but that's really kind of a waste. Sure, he didn't see me, but if I can get a gun kill over a missile kill, I'll try to do that every single time whilst playing this jet. Because yeah, sure, the F5E gets a lot better missiles than the F5C does. But it's still only 2 IR missiles, which means that if you miss 2 shots, then, well, you're out of missiles, and also kind of sad because you didn't get that satisfying ping sound. Just like I didn't get that satisfying ping now, because I didn't kill this F5 while shooting him, I only managed to crit him. Which is a bit annoying, but also kind of commonplace whilst using this aircraft. The guns on this jet are 20mm and you get 2 of them, and honestly, after the real shatter changes, they are quite decent. But, I mean, maybe this is me coping, maybe skill issue on my part, but I still find these guns to be a little unreliable. Sometimes they do just fine and you can one-tap an enemy very easily, and other times, like this, well, you shoot the enemy a couple of times, but you have to wait for them to J out before you actually manage to get the kill. Just to reiterate, I think the guns on this jet are just fine, but I do think you have to keep in mind that they can be a bit unreliable. Anyway, back with our focus on the gameplay, and you can see that I've gotten myself into a bit of a peculiar situation, because it seems that every single one of the remaining enemy players is now focused on me. Probably because most of my team melted as I was trying to fight the enemies over in this corner of the map. Essentially, all my teammates have died. Not all of them, there's still a couple of them left, but the odds are most certainly no longer in my favor. Essentially, I'm gonna have to carry this match. Will I be able to do that? Well, let's go find out. Kill this A10 here, and then I go on to kill these other 2 A10s that are also flying around in this general area. And if I'm completely honest, this is a bit of a bad decision by me, because what I really should have been doing is taking care of the enemy fighters. They are genuinely the main threat, and by the time that I've killed these A10s, I will be running low on fuel, so if I then would get intercepted by the remaining fighters on the enemy team, I'd be in a bit of a pickle. But, of course, that's something I only realized in hindsight. When I was playing the match, I was very much focused on taking out these A10s, well, for 2 reasons. One, I didn't want to lose to AI ticket bleed, and in case you don't know, 4 A10s taking care of your team's ground targets very easily results in you losing the match because all your tickets will melt away. Another reason I want to kill these A10s is because I've made it my personal mission to eradicate this invasive species from ARB. The A10 is not fun to fly, not fun to fight, it's just an annoying aircraft. It's a speed bump. Anyway, I overshoot here on this A10 and then I just go up. F5E has very good energy retention and a lot better engines than the F5C, so going vertical is no problem in this jet. And then the second time around, that A10 isn't so lucky, and I actually managed to connect most of my shots. And then there's another A10, but what you might also be seeing is that in the background, that Bodhi guy, as well as some other FF fighters on the enemy team, well, they're slowly closing in on my position. And if you look at my fuel, well, you can probably see where this is going. Anyway, the A10 below me is a true premium player. Not only is he just spamming flares for absolutely no reason, but he's also trying to go vertical against an F5E. Why? What? Anyway, I shoot him and then, well, here comes the problem that I created in this match. By not focusing on the enemy fighters earlier, I'll have to deal with them now. And dealing with multiple enemy fighters whilst you're only having 2 minutes of fuel in your tank? Ooh, that's a bit of a challenge. In fact, it's so much of a challenge that I'm not quite sure if I'll manage to pull it off. As you can see, I'm being chased by multiple F5s. 2 of them are F5Cs and 1 of them is an F5E. And the latter, well, that's a bit annoying, because the greatest arch nemesis of the F5E is another F5E. I'm not joking, I really don't have that many issues dogfighting anything in this jet except other F5Es. They're the same plane, and that means that it really comes down to the pilot, and I mean, it's not hard to win against most players who play ARB, but it's also still a little bit more annoying to deal with than something like an F5C. Annoying is maybe not the right word, but it's certainly more challenging. And, well, as you can see, I've now got 1 minute of fuel left, and I am desperately trying to fly not in front of their guns. I feel really bad that I'm now hovering right over my own airfield, but then on the other hand, with 40 seconds of fuel left, this is also just where I should be. I should be putting my gear out right now on my flaps and trying to land. But of course, these enemies are doing a very good job at stopping me from doing that by simply just existing. And, well, I mean, they might exist, but so does my SPAA. RIP F5C. Look behind me, see that the enemy F5E is quite far away, so I commit to a head-on with this guy in the hopes that, well, that's just a bad move, Walvis. What are you doing? Anyway, TLDR, the F5E is an absolutely phenomenal aircraft that is not only a very good jet, but it's also just a very fun one. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Remember to join my Discord server, and goodbye.